Hello students, Jinali Shah welcomes you all on behalf of Saraswat International Academy. Students, in the previous video we have studied regarding the general introduction to the human reproductive system as well as we have studied the organs of the male reproductive system. In today's lecture, we will continue with the female reproductive system. So, let us start our topic, female reproductive system. Now, which organs are included in female reproductive system? So, students, the female reproductive system consists of pair of ovaries along with the pair of oviducts, uterus, cervix, vagina and external genitalia located in the pelvic region of the body. So, which are the organs of the female reproductive system? Pair of ovaries, pair of oviducts, uterus, cervix, vagina, external genitalia, and which all these organs basically, or you can say they are located in the pelvic region. Now, out of these organs, the ovaries are considered as the primary sex organs of the female reproductive system. What are primary sex organs? Those sex organs which are concerned with the formation of the gametes as well as those which release the sex hormones, they are the primary sex organs, and the other organs are considered as the secondary sex organs. They are basically involved only in the transportation of the gametes, right? So, those organs in which gamete formation takes place, they are called as primary sex organs. So, in females, ovaries are the organs where the gamete formation, where the egg formation take place, and hence the ovary is considered as the primary sex organ of the females. These parts along with the pair of the mammary glands are integrated structurally and functionally to support the process of ovulation, fertilization, pregnancy, childbirth and child care. So, all these organs, ovaries, oviducts, uterus, cervix, vagina, external genitalia along with the pair of mammary gland are involved in the reproductive processes which are taking place in the females, or reproductive processes, functions which are taking place in the females. Like all these organs are involved, basically the female reproductive system is involved in the process. The organs of the female reproductive system are involved in the process of ovulation, that is release of the egg, fertilization, that is fusion of the male and female gamete, pregnancy, childbirth and child care. So, these are the various functions carried out by the female reproductive system. So, here you can see the sectional view of the pelvis where you can see the organs of the female reproductive system. So, see students, this is the cervix basically, then this is the uterus, urinary bladder, pubic symphysis, urethra, this is the urethra. This clitoris, labium minora, labium majora, these are the parts of the external genitalia of the female. This is the vagina. So, this is the sectional view of the pelvis. Now, this is the sectional view of the female reproductive system. As I told you, it consists of the pair of the ovaries. Now, as you study in detail, you will see that basically there is no physical connection between ovaries and oviduct. This complete is the oviduct. These are the parts of the oviduct, fimbriae, infundibulum, ampulla, isthmus. These all are the regions of the oviduct. We know that oviduct is also called as the fallopian tubes. So, these are the two oviducts. Then this is the uterus. Now, there are again different regions of the uterus too. right? There are different regions of the uterus too, and the opening of the uterus is called as the cervix. So this is the opening of the uterus. What is it called? Opening of the uterus is called as cervix. And the last part is the vagina. The region between the vagina and cervix is called as the cervical canal. So now this endometrium, myometrium and perimetrium are the different walls present surrounding the uterus, which we will study in the later part of this video. Clear? So this is the sectional view of the female reproductive system. Now the primary sex organs, which are the ovaries. I told you ovaries are called as the primary sex organs. Why? Because these are the organs involved in the gamete formation as well as release of the female sex hormones. Clear? So ovaries are the primary female sex organs that produce the female gamete ovum and several steroid hormones or the ovarian hormones like estrogen, progesterone. So these are the ovarian hormones. So ovaries are involved in the gamete formation as well as secretion of the certain hormones, and hence they are called as the primary sex organs of the females. Now location of ovaries. The ovaries are located one on each side of the lower abdomen. So where are they located? They are located in the lower abdominal region. The ovary is an elliptical structure about 2 to 4 centimeter in length. So these are the dimensions of the ovary. The length is 2 to 4 centimeter and its shape is elliptical. The ovary remains attached to the pelvic wall and uterus by an ovarian ligament called as the mesoovarium. So the ovary is attached to the pelvic region, the wall of the pelvic region, and to the uterus with the help of the ligament called as the mesoovarium. Each ovary is covered by a thin cuboidal epithelium called as germinal epithelium, which encloses the ovarian stroma. So now students, the structure and composition of ovary. The ovary is surrounded by a thin layer of germinal epithelium. Now this germinal epithelium is nothing but it is the layer of the cuboidal epithelium. And inner to that is the ovarian stroma. So basically the ovarian stroma is covered by a layer of the germinal epithelium, and this germinal epithelium is nothing but the layer of the cuboidal epithelium. Ovaries are composed of the connective tissue called stroma, which is wrapped by the layer of cuboidal cell called germinal epithelium. Same thing. So, what is ovary composed of? Stroma. What is stroma? It is a region of connective tissue. What covers stroma? Germinal epithelium. And what is that germinal epithelium made up of? So, it is made up of the cuboidal epithelium. So, you can say this layer is the stroma. Say for example, this is the ovary. Sorry students. Say for example, this is the ovary. And what is this? This layer is the stroma. So, this complete portion is stroma, and this surrounding region is the germinal epithelium. And what is this germinal epithelium made up of? So, it is made up of the cuboidal cell. Now, this stroma is further divided into two regions. So, the stroma is differentiated into two zones, the outer cortex or inner and central medulla. So, now see students, say for example, this is the stroma. So, the peripheral, or you can say the outer part of the stroma is called as the cortex. What is the outer or peripheral part called? Cortex. And this central or inner region is called as the medulla. So, ovary is mainly composed of stromal tissue. this stromal tissue is further divided into two regions. One is cortex, which is the outer part, or you can say peripheral part of the ovarial stroma, and the middle or inner or central portion is called as the medulla. Now, the cortex appears dense and granular due to the presence of the ovarian follicles, which are round or oval bodies in the various stages of development. So, the cortical region of the stromal part is dense and granular. Why that region appears to be dense and granular? Because that region contains the ovarian follicles. These ovarian follicles are round or oval bodies, and these ovarian follicles are present in their various stages of development. Which are that various stages of the development of ovarian follicles? We will go through it when we study the process of oogenesis. But keep in mind that the cortical region consists of the ovarian follicles in their various stages of development. There are various stages of the development of follicles, and these follicles are accumulated, or you can say they are present in the which region? They are present in the cortical region, and that is the reason why cortical region appears to be dense and granular. The medulla is a loose connective tissue with abundant blood vessels, lymphatic vessels and nerve fibers. So now the next part of the ovarian stroma is what? Medulla. So what is present within medulla? So medulla is made up of loose connective tissues. Along with that, it also contains blood vessels, lymphatic vessels as well as the nerve fibers. Below the germinal epithelium is a dense connective tissue called tunica albuginea. So below the germinal epithelium is tunica albuginea. Now the accessory ducts, or you can say the secondary sex organs, and these accessory ducts are involved in what? They are involved in the various process like transportation of the egg, their fertilization with the sperm, etc. So the accessory ducts of the females are ovarian tubes, or uterine tubes, or fallopian tubes, or oviducts. Fallopian tubes or uterine tubes or oviducts. Next is uterus, which is also called as womb, and lastly vagina. So these are the main accessory ducts of the female. So first of all, let us study regarding the fallopian tubes, or also they are called as the oviducts. Each fallopian tube is about 10 to 12 centimeter long, and it extends from periphery of each ovary to the uterus. So the length is how much? 10 to 12 centimeter. It will start from ovary and end to uterus. But keep in mind that there is no physical connection between ovary and the oviduct. They are not the connected structure. Both of these structures lie very near to each other. They are in close proximity, but they are not connected with each other. The proximal part, which is the part? Proximal part. What is proximal part? The part which is closer to the ovary. So the proximal part of the fallopian tube bears a funnel shaped infundibulum. So the proximal part, or the initial part of the fallopian tube, is funnel shaped structure, which is called as infundibulum. Now this infundibulum possess finger-like projections, and these finger-like projections are called as the fimbriae. Now say for example your palm. So this portion is called infundibulum, and our palm consists of fingers. So this is the structure. This is called as the fimbriae, and this part is, this funnel shaped structure is called as the infundibulum. Clear? So the edges of the infundibulum have many finger-like projections called fimbriae, which help in the collection of the ovum after ovulation. Very, very, very important. I told you that ovaries and oviduct are not in physical contact with each other. So question arises, how does the ovum released by the ovary enter into the fallopian tube? Right? If there is no connection between them, how that is possible? So students, it is possible because the initial part of the fallopian tube called as the infundibulum, it consists of the finger-like projections called as the fimbriae. Now this fimbriae possesses the cilia. With the beating movement of the cilia, this ovum released by the ovary enters into the fallopian tube. ये जो फिम्ब्रिए होते हैं उनके पास ओपनिंग्स होते हैं and through this opening and with the help of the beating movement of the cilia, the ovum released by the ovary enters into the fallopian tube. Now, the infundibulum opens into the wider central portion called ampulla. So, the infundibulum of the fallopian tube, it opens into the next region of the fallopian tube, which is somewhat wider, and that wider central portion of the fallopian tube is called as ampulla. The last part of the oviduct is isthmus, which is short, thick-walled and has the narrow lumen. The lumen of the ampulla is wider, whereas the last part is called as isthmus, that is short. It is also thick-walled, but the cavity, the lumen of the isthmus is narrow. Now, what is the function of isthmus? It connects the ampulla and infundibulum to the uterus. So, basically it provides the connection to the uterus. Clear? So, the next part of the female reproductive system is the uterus. The uterus is a hollow, thick-walled, muscular, highly vascular, inverted P-shaped structure lying in the pelvic. It is basically inverted pear-shaped structure lying in the pelvic cavity between the urinary bladder and rectum. So, its structure, it is hollow, it is thick-walled, it is not dense, it is hollow, it is thick-walled, it is highly muscular as well as vascular, because uterus is the structure which is going to bear the child at the time of the pregnancy. So, it is muscular, it is vascular, that is supplied with the blood vessels, and its shape is inverted pear shape. Okay. Where is it located? In the pelvic cavity. Where? So, between the bladder and the rectum. The major portion of the uterus is the body, and rounded superior region to is called as fundus. So, these are the different region of the uterus, the body, the fundus. So, these are all called as the region of the uterus. So, main portion of the uterus is called body, and body or you can say on the superior region of the body is a rounded structure which is called as the fundus. And this uterus opens into the vagina through narrow cervix. So, basically the cervix is called as the opening of the uterus. The opening of the uterus into the vagina is called as what? It is called as cervix. The cavity of the cervix, called cervical canal, communicates with vagina through the external orifice and with the uterus through the internal orifice. Orifice are the openings. So, the cervix opens with the, or basically the cervix communicates with vagina through the what? External orifice, and it communicates, say for example this is the cervix, right? Now ये cervix के ऊपर say for ये this part is the uterus, this part is one region, and after uterus is which region? This is the vagina, right? Uterus and vagina. ये दोनों के बीच में क्या है? There is the cervical canal. So this region is called as what? Cervical canal. What is this? This region is called as cervical canal. Now the cervical canals, or you can say the opening of the cervical canal with the uterus, ये जो opening है, that opening is called as the internal orifice, and its opening into the vagina is called as the external orifice. This canal, the cervical canal, communicates with the uterus through the opening called internal orifice, and this cervical canal communicates with vagina through the opening called as the external orifice. Is it clear, students? We know that the cervical canal is the region which connects the uterus with the vagina. So the you can say the opening, or you can say the cervical canal communicates with the uterus with the help of internal orifice, and it communicates with vagina through the external orifice. Now the cervical canal along with the vagina is called as the birth canal. So cervical canal plus vagina together are called as the birth canal. Now very important, the wall of the uterus. The wall of the uterus is 3-layered wall, and each layer is made up of different structures. So the wall of the uterus has 3 layers of tissue. Students, this is very important. It has been frequently asked in your board examinations. Explain regarding the wall of the uterus. The uppermost thin membranous layer is called as, not uppermost, the outermost. The outermost thin membranous layer is called as perimetrium. I told you how many layers walls are present in the uterus? 3. The outer layer is called as perimetrium. Peri is surrounding. Surrounding is outer side. So the outer layer is membranous, and this layer is called as the perimetrium. The middle layer is highly thick muscular layer, and this muscular layer is made up of smooth muscles, and that region is called myometrium because it consists of the muscles. So the middle layer is made up of smooth muscles. Smooth muscles are involuntary muscles, and this middle layer of the smooth muscles is highly thick. ये muscular region काफ़ी ज़्यादा होता है, and that region is called as the myometrium. And the inner layer is glandular, which is called as the endometrium. So outer layer is membranous, which is perimetrium. Middle layer is muscular, which is called as myometrium, and inner layer is glandular, which is called as the endometrium. It is the endometrium which undergoes glandular, name itself suggests, glandular related to secretions, related to certain secretions. So it is the endometrium which undergoes the circular changes, or you can say it undergoes the changes at the time of the menstrual cycle. The endometrium lines the uterine cavity, यानी पूरा जो यूटेरस है उसके सराउंडिंग पहला लेयर कौन सा है? एंडोमेट्रियम. उसके बाहर मायोमेट्रियम, एंड बायोमेट्रियम के बाहर इट इज पेरीमेट्रियम. The endometrium undergoes the cyclic changes during the menstrual cycle, while the myometrium exhibits the strong contraction during parturition, which is called as delivery of the baby. So different layers having different functions. Outer layer, of course, it is involved in the protection. Middle layer is made up of smooth muscles, and these smooth muscles undergo strong contractions at the time of parturition, which is called as the delivery of the baby. And endometrium, it undergoes the cyclic changes at the time of the menstrual cycle. Now, the next accessory duct is vagina. So vagina is a large fibromuscular tube that extends from cervix to the exterior. The vagina, it extends from cervix to the exterior part into the external genitalia, and it is made up of, it is a fibromuscular tube. It is a female organ of copulation. This is the organ which helps in the process of copulation, in the process of mating. Now, external genitalia of the female are also called as the vulva. Okay, very important. Again, it is a very important question for your board examination. The female reproductive structures that lie external to the vagina are called as external genitalia or vulva. So, all those structures which are found external to vagina are called as vulva or external genitalia. What is it made up of? It is made up of mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen and clitoris. It is made up of what? Mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen and clitoris. Now let us study each and every structure. So mons pubis is a cushion of fatty tissue which is covered by skin and the pubic hair. So mons pubis is a fatty layer which is a fatty tissue layer. That layer is covered by skin and it is also having the pubic hair. The labia majora are fleshy folds of tissue which extend down from mons pubis and surround the vaginal opening. So, the structure which extend from mons pubis are labia majora, which are fleshy folds and it surrounds the vaginal opening. The labia minora are paired fold of tissues under the labia majora. So, they are again the paired fleshy folds found under the labia majora. The clitoris is a finger-like projection which lies at the upper junction of two labia minora above the urethral opening. So, what is clitoris? At the upper region where the two labia minora meet, at that region is a tiny finger-like projection which is called as clitoris, and it will be found above the urethral opening. The external opening of the vagina is partially closed by a thin ring of tissue called hymen. So, the vaginal opening is partially closed by a thin structure, and that structure is called as hymen. The hymen is often torn during the first coitus, that is physical union. It is normally said at the time of first coitus, or you can say at the time of first copulation, the hymen is torn. However, in certain women it remains intact, but it should not be considered that the presence of the hymen should be considered as an indicator of the woman's virginity. No, the hymen can be broke due to the different physical activities too, like horse riding, cycling, etc. Okay. So, it can be stretched or torn during sudden fall or jolt, and it also may be torn during the strenuous physical activities like cycling, horseback riding, etc., and therefore cannot be considered as an indicator of women's virginity. Hymen normally is torn during the first copulation, but it should not be thought that it is the indicator of the women's virginity. The reason is it can be also broken due to the certain other activities like cycling, horse riding, etc. too. Clear? Now, the accessory reproductive glands of the female. The Bartholin's gland, which is also called as the greater vestibular gland, they are located posterior to the left and right opening of the vagina. So, one of the gland is the Bartholin glands, which are located on the lateral sides of the opening of the vagina. Now, what is their secretion? They secrete the mucus to lubricate the vagina, and they are homologous to the bulbourethral glands of the female. So, their secretion is mucus. This mucus lubricates the vagina. The Skenes gland, which are located on the anterior wall of the vagina and around the lower end of the urethra. So, the other gland is the Skenes gland. They are also located anterior to the vagina and surrounding the lower part of the urethra. They also secrete a lubricating fluid and are considered homologous to the prostate gland of the males. So that is regarding the Skene's gland. Now, very important structure of the female reproductive system is the mammary glands. The mammary glands are the modified sweat glands present in both sexes, but they are rudimentary in males and are functional in females. Mammary glands are present in both males and females, but they are not well developed, or you can say they are highly primitive, rudimentary in males, but they are functional and highly developed in the females. A pair of mammary gland is located in the thoracic region. So, where are they located? In the thorax region. It consists of the glandular tissue. When I say glandular tissue, it is associated with certain secretion. So, what is the secretion of the mammary gland? It secretes the milk which nourishes the young one. So, it contains the glandular tissue and variable quantities of a fat. Along with the glandular tissue, it consists of the fat with a median nipple surrounded by the pigmented area called as the areola. So, what is the composition of mammary gland? Glandular tissue, fat. Then in the middle portion is the nipple, and this nipple is surrounded by the dark pigmented area which is called as what? Areola. Several sebaceous glands called areolar glands are found on the surface, and they reduce the cracking of the skin of the nipple. Now around there are other sebaceous glands present called as areolar glands. Where are they present? They are present on the surface. And what is their function? They reduce the cracking of the skin of the nipple. Internally, now what is the internal composition or internal structure of the mammary gland? Internally, each mammary gland consists of 50 to 20 mammary lobes separated by the fat connective tissue. So, what is each mammary gland made up of? 50 to 20 mammary lobes, and these lobes are separated by the fat layer and the connective tissue. Now, each lobe is made up of lobules which contain the cluster of cells called acini or alveoli, which are lined by the epithelial cell. Each mammary gland is made up of 15 to 20 mammary lobe. Each lobe is made up of the lobules. These lobules consist of the cluster of cells like grapes. Grapes में कैसे होता है? Grapes का bunch, same structure. So, this cluster of cells are called acini or alveoli, and each alveoli are lined by the epithelial cells. The cells of the alveoli secrete the milk which is stored in the cavities or lumen of the alveoli. So, what is the function of alveoli? Its function is to secrete the milk, and this milk is stored in the cavity or lumen of the alveoli. The alveoli opens into the mammary tubules. So, now these alveoli open where? In the mammary tubules. The tubules of each lobe will join and form a mammary duct. So, tubules, how many lobes are there? 15 to 20. They will join, and what do they form? Mammary duct. Several mammary ducts join to form wider mammary ampulla, which is connected to the lactiferous duct in the nipple through which the milk is sucked out. So, alveoli किस में open होता है? Mammary tubules. These mammary tubules will join and form what? Mammary duct. These mammary ducts join and form what? Ampulla. Where this ampulla opens into the lactiferous duct, and this lactiferous duct is present where? In the nipple. So, milk will be sucked out through the lactiferous duct. See, mammary gland consists of mammary lobes. Each lobe consists of lobules. These lobules consist of the alveoli. Alveoli secrete the milk. These alveoli open into the mammary tubules. Tubules join and form mammary duct. Mammary duct will join and form ampulla. This ampulla opens into the lactiferous ducts which are present in the nipple. Now, again, Under the nipple, each lactiferous duct will expand to form lactiferous sinus, which serves as the reservoir of the milk. So, under the nipple, where are lactiferous duct present? In the nipple. So, in that region, they form the lactiferous sinus, or that under the nipple, the lactiferous duct will expand, and what it forms? Lactiferous sinus. And this lactiferous sinus serves as the reservoir of the milk. Each lactiferous duct opens separately by a minute pore present on the surface of the nipple. Normal development of the breast begins at puberty and progresses with the changes during each menstrual cycle. In non-pregnant women, the glandular structure is highly underdeveloped and the breast size is largely due to the amount of the fat deposits. So, non-pregnant women में जो मेन पोर्शन रहता है वो फैट होता है. The breast size is mainly due to the fat deposition. In them, the glandular tissue is not developed. The size of the breast does not have any influence on the efficiency of lactation. Size of the breast does not decide the efficiency of lactation. It means कि अगर ब्रेस्ट की साइज ज़्यादा होगी तो लैक्टेशन ज़्यादा होगा. That is not the case. Clear? The size of the breast does not have any influence on the efficiency of the lactation. So see students, this is regarding the structure of the mammary gland. So each mammary gland is consisting of the mammary lobes. So these are the mammary lobes consist of lobules. These lobules consist of cluster of cells called alveoli. This is tubule, this is mammary duct, ampulla, and finally this is the lactiferous duct. Mammary lobule, then secondary tubules, duct, ampulla, and the lactiferous duct. Now these lactiferous ducts are opening at the surface of the nipple. So this is the nipple. A nipple is surrounded by the pigmented area called areola, and this yellowish structure is the fatty portion of the mammary gland. So students, that is regarding the female reproductive system and their organs and other structures. I end my lecture here. In the next video, we will be studying regarding the process of the gamete formations in the males and females. I end my lecture here. Thank you students.